Hello and welcome to my channel, where I'm going to talk about game design. Since young age I play video games and I always want to understand what's so attractive about them. So I'm making this video series about games that are most notable for their game design and hope you enjoy it. We can start design breakdown right away from the starting screen and we'll literally understand half of game just by looking at menus and map and other non-gameplay stuff like this. We see our fellow cops, they do these little dance moves, and I'm going to explain this later more deeply. First of all, let's take a look at the whole scene. The perspective here is important. Cuphead and Mugman stand on top of pile of chips, and the perspective tells us that we see like from lower point of view. This gives us superiority idea, like these characters are victorious and fearless. Now take a look at the background. It's red. And I suggest that this is an impression of theater, because theater curtains are red mostly in common culture. And do you know why theater curtains are red? That's because red doesn't absorb as much light as other colors. What a coincidence, there is a light coming from the center of the screen. And this is a good impression because we think of theater like of a place of art, of visual art especially. And this game is all about visual art. More than absolute most games, so this impression suits game very well. And we primarily see all the nonverbal signs that gives us the right feeling about the game, like characters poses with their puffed out chests, smiles on their faces, and we subconsciously understand the mood of this game. So what is it? The mood is closely tied to the story and the origin of this game's visual design. So I must say beforehand that the story is very simple in its essence. We have this bad guy and this bad guy, and it's just bad and we have to defeat them. That's it. No complex characters. But why is mood tied to visual design? Well, the visual style Cuphead uses is called rubber hose animation. It was popular in 1920s all the way to mid-30s. And what did start in 1929? That's right, the Great Depression. And the way humans are designed creates some kind of seesaw effect in our psyche. The worse the situation, the more cheerful the music, movies and cartoons. Just because you can't really take in any more problems when your daily life is a mess. When economy is ruined, you have to take as much positive emotions as you can, or you will fall into depression. Okay, let's move forward. Our first menu. I won't talk much about this one, I'll just show you this screenshot from Final Fantasy VII. So we start at Eldekel's house. Nothing interesting here except the fact that tutorial itself is a white piece of paper near glass with brushes. So this is an obvious reference to painting, which is, the most important part of the game. And we have a feeling that we are inside the house with roof over our head, because of that black frame on top. And now that we came to the first hub here, we can already assume the whole visual design of this game. So player when comes here sees all the objects they can interact with, because they are painted more colorful, have more contrast and they move. For objects you can interact with, this movement is just this little shake, which comes with a rubber hose animation style. In animation that was just production costs, but in Cuphead this is a functional feature, a way for designers to interact with players. When it comes to characters, they do this little dance. It's side to side movement like Apple does, or just up and down movement like Cuphead does. And this way of making players understand that they can interact with is a bit philosophical if you think of it. Characters manifest themselves throughout movement, and this is how life is. If you move, you exist. If you don't move, you die, you become a terrain, a background of life, like this mausoleum. It moves until you beat the level, and after that it crushes and dies and becomes a terrain. And what makes a terrain of this game is less of a contrast watercolor painting. So we, without even thinking about it, understand where is just a mere decoration, background, and where are points of interest. Just to finish the conversation about the visual design of this game, all I gotta say is there is an old movie filter, with these lines and spots appearing on the screen. This visual effect is widely known in our culture, we all without saying understand that this means old movie. Also, there is so-called anaglyph effect, which is called here color bleed, which adds blue and red to edge of each sprite. And I see no particular reason why did they add this to the game. I don't think this was a thing in all cartoons. More than that, I believe all people who played this game never saw such an effect in cartoons. And the interesting thing here, this effect feels right. It gives us some old cartoon experience even though there never was such an effect. And sometimes creators have to add such things, and this is the most beautiful part of design to my taste, because you add something that has no particular meaning, functionality or history behind it, but it feels like it has, and actually makes the game better, and the result is unique, and experience is unparalleled. So speaking about experience, player experience in this game is not the most interesting part, but it has some notable details. So when it comes to gameplay, everything is fairly easy. Everything except bosses, I gotta say. You have a couple of different attacks, couple of perks, basic movement with jumping and dash, that's it. But the key part of this game is difficulty. Difficulty combined with simple controls makes you just learn and play until you master those mechanics. This makes a very consistent learning curve for player, and gameplay isn't punishing, it's teaching and enjoyable. And when you make a hardcore game, what you really want to do is a good response. There should be zero input lag. Characters should react accordingly to anything you do with gamepad, and this is vital, because otherwise players will have non-gameplay related difficulties, and this will reduce hardcore game from challenging to just bad. It's somewhat fascinating to me because there is a quarter of a second between this game being just great and being unplayable. And there is also no annoying bugs in this game, so your learning curve depends only on you, and whether you beat this boss or not is fully in your hands. Players just can't complain about the game, this is the ultimate challenge. What else can I say about the experience in this game? Well, it's full of little details that make this game perfect, like these hitboxes. They are everywhere, and there could be no hitboxes at all, but this game is made with love, and this tiny little detail does make game world feel natural and real. By the way, take a look at this dice right here. It has numbers 1, 3 and 5 on it. Only odd numbers. Why is that? Well, human brain is designed the way that we like odd numbers more. Odd quantities of things are more pleasant to see. You can Google this interesting fact and find articles, researches, and even find out why prices in stores rarely contain even numbers at the end. And music. Some music from games has only purpose to be the background. When you listen it outside of the game, it even feels awful. But not in this game. It is gorgeous, you can add this to your playlist and still have fun not even playing the game. And of course it has this little layer of old cartoon experience, devs applied vinyl sound filter to it. And I gotta say that old film filter and music vinyl filter is the same thing basically. They serve the same purpose, their essence is same, with only difference that first is a visual and the second is sound filter. And how they work together feels very natural. And as this video goes to its end, let me tell you about some interesting details I noticed. As you know, this game's story is pretty straightforward. No twisted plot, good guys are good, bad guys are bad, and so on. And here is a very common narrative that there is an underworld under the ground, and it is a terrible place. This is shared by many cultures that never met and lived in different times. They all have similar image of hell. So we don't just go forward or up, we go down to face the devil himself. That's quite interesting actually, because we have examples of going up in games. I remember two from Sekiro, the dragon fight, which doesn't look like a fight honestly, and Monkey's fight, which takes place in some over the clouds place and is also not conventional fight, because you can just take a weapon and kill something that is divine and heavenly, is more than physical. So well, let's descend. And what do we see? Casino. What else do we see? You probably didn't notice, but the carpet is rounded on one side. And maybe now you can notice that isn't really a carpet, it is a representation of tongue, and dices to left and right are not just dices, those are teeth. So this is a beast that is ready to swallow you. Also take a look at top of the casino. There are chess figures. This feels odd because we know that in casino they will fool you, you'll always lose, and chess is a fair game. You can just cheat in chess, but the devil is all over it. Everything here in his hands, so even chess game is for him. And he holds chips in his claws, and we understand whose place this is. And devil look up to the sky, it is the image of innocence, so it tries to seem like that, but we know that this isn't true. So, thank you for watching to the end. My conclusion here is kinda obvious and simple. Cuphead is overall great game, especially design wise. Hope you enjoy this, learned something new like I did while making this video, and I'll see you next time.